Here's a 1600-word article crafted for your YouTube video based on the emotional fictional story you provided. In the quiet hum of a hospital ward, where the beeping of machines blends with hurried footsteps, lives are saved and destinies are rewritten every single day. This is where our story begins, not with grandeur or wealth, but with a young, struggling nurse named Alina, who had always believed that compassion was stronger than hardship. Alina worked long shifts, often stretching herself beyond exhaustion. Her life was a constant struggle, balancing bills, taking care of her aging mother, and somehow trying to keep her own dreams alive. Every day she donned her uniform not just as a duty, but as a silent promise to help others, no matter how heavy her own burdens weighed. Nursing wasn't just her profession, it was her calling. One evening, the emergency room doors swung open. The chaos of the night suddenly intensified as paramedics wheeled in a man unconscious, his face pale, his body weak from severe blood loss. The medical team sprang into action, but within minutes, a chilling realization set in: the hospital's blood bank did not have his type in stock. Time was running out. Doctors looked around anxiously, and in that critical moment, Alina felt her heart stir. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and volunteered to donate her blood. It wasn't a decision she thought twice about, this was a life at stake. She was led to the donation room, and as the crimson flow of her blood began, Alina silently whispered a prayer for the stranger's life. The patient's condition stabilized, thanks to the emergency transfusion. But Alina never expected to see him again. To her, it was just another act of duty, another day of choosing humanity over self. She returned to her routine, never realizing how that single act of kindness would change her life forever. Days later, as she finished her shift, she was surprised to see a tall, well-dressed man waiting in the corridor. His presence stood out among the usual stream of patients and families. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on her. To Alina's shock, it was the same man whose life she had helped save. He introduced himself as Daniel Hayes, a name Alina had heard before but never connected. He was not just a patient, he was the CEO of a large company, a man of influence and wealth. But what struck Alina most was not his title, it was the gratitude in his eyes. He wasn't here as a businessman, he was here as a father, a human being who had been given a second chance. Daniel explained how he had been rushing to pick up his young daughter from school when he suddenly collapsed from an undetected medical condition. He spoke of how terrified he was of leaving his daughter alone, with no one to guide her. His voice trembled when he shared how, as a single dad, his daughter was his entire world. And then he said something that left Alina speechless: "If it weren't for you, my daughter would have lost her only parent. I owe you more than I can ever repay." For Alina, gratitude was never something she expected in return for her work. She smiled politely, insisting she was only doing her duty. But Daniel didn't let it end there. He came back again the next day, this time with his daughter, Emily, a bright-eyed little girl with an infectious smile. Emily ran up to Alina, clutching a handmade card that read in colorful letters, "Thank you for saving my daddy." Tears welled up in Alina's eyes as she knelt down to hug the little girl. From that day, Daniel began to visit often, sometimes with flowers, sometimes just to say hello. Alina was hesitant at first. She wasn't used to attention, let alone from someone as influential as him. But there was something genuine about Daniel. Behind the polished exterior of a CEO was a man who valued kindness, who admired the strength of a woman who gave selflessly even when she had little. As weeks turned into months, their bond grew. Daniel would often share stories about his late wife, about the loneliness he had faced raising Emily alone, and about the pressure of managing his company while being a father. Alina, in turn, shared her struggles, the sleepless nights, the financial worries, and the quiet fear of never being enough. In each other's vulnerabilities, they found strength. Alina began to realize that beneath Daniel's powerful position was a man who longed for love and family, and Daniel began to see that behind Alina's tired eyes was a woman of extraordinary resilience and compassion. Then came the day that would forever change Alina's life. Daniel invited her to a small gathering at his home, under the pretense of introducing her to some colleagues. Nervous but curious, Alina agreed. What she didn't expect was the warm welcome from his family and the way Emily clung to her side, as though she already saw Alina as part of their lives. Toward the end of the evening, Daniel stood before her, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Alina," he said softly, "you gave me my life back, but more importantly, you gave my daughter her father back. That kind of gift can never be repaid with words or wealth. But if you'd let me, I want to give you something else, something life-changing." Not as a CEO, but as a man who has found hope again because of you. The room fell silent as Daniel revealed his heartfelt proposal, not one of business, but of partnership in life. He told her he wanted to stand beside her, to share her burdens, to bring her dreams to life, and to create a family where love, respect, and kindness were the foundation. Alina was stunned. For a woman who had lived her life quietly, always giving but never expecting, this was overwhelming. She didn't answer immediately. That night, she went home and thought of everything, her fears, her responsibilities, her mother's needs, and the uncertainty of stepping into a new life. But then she thought of Emily's smile, of Daniel's unwavering gratitude, of the way he looked at her not as a struggling nurse, but as a woman of worth. Slowly, a realization bloomed in her heart. Sometimes, life brings you unexpected miracles when you least expect them. The next time she saw Daniel, she looked into his eyes with tears of joy and whispered, yes. Their journey was not without challenges. Alina had to adjust to a new world of privilege, while Daniel had to learn the simplicity of her humble life. But together, they found balance. Alina continued her nursing, never letting go of the passion that defined her, while Daniel supported her in ways she never imagined. Emily, overjoyed, found in Alina not just a friend, but a mother figure who filled the emptiness she had felt for so long. What began as a simple act of donating blood blossomed into a love story that defied all odds. It was a reminder that kindness is never wasted, that the smallest act of compassion can open doors to the greatest blessings. Alina's story teaches us that even in the midst of personal struggles, choosing humanity can lead to miracles. And Daniel's journey reminds us that wealth and power mean little without love, gratitude, and connection. This is not just a story of chance encounters, it is a story of destiny, of lives intertwined by compassion, and of how love often finds us when we least expect it. In the quiet halls of a hospital, where Alina once gave selflessly, she found something in return, a family, a future, and a love that would last a lifetime. So, when you think your struggles are unnoticed, or that your sacrifices are in vain, remember Alina, remember that kindness echoes in ways we cannot imagine, and sometimes, the very act of saving someone else's life can end up saving your own. Because at the heart of every soul-stirring story is a truth we all long to believe in, that love finds us, heals us, and transforms us in the most unexpected of ways. Would you like me to also break this article into segments with timestamps like a narration script for YouTube, so it flows naturally for video storytelling?